Hi, I'm Stephanie Townrow, the Director of Education and Public Programs at Lancaster History, and I'm here today at President James Buchanan's Wheatland, taking you through a few rooms in the house. Now, we're here in a room that belonged to a resident of Wheatland that sometimes doesn't get the same attention or praise as some of the other family members who lived here at Wheatland with Buchanan, but she was as important of a member of the family and in many ways a very highly contributing member of the Wheatland household who really was here pretty permanently for the duration of Buchanan's time living here at Wheatland, and who was with Buchanan for 34 years. And the person I'm talking about is Buchanan's housekeeper. Her name was Esther Parker, and people called her Hetty or Miss Hetty, so we affectionately refer to her here at Wheatland as Miss Hetty. Now, Miss Hetty came to work for Buchanan in 1834. She had been born in a suburb of Philadelphia. She eventually, as a young lady, came to Lancaster because her uncle owned the White Swan Tavern, and she came to help him out at his local business in the city of Lancaster. That's where she met Buchanan. At the time, Buchanan lived on East King Street, very close by to the White Swan. And he would come to the White Swan to take his dinners almost every night. And that's how he got to know Miss Hetty, and in 1834 decided to offer her the position of his housekeeper. Now, when we say housekeeper, although Miss Hetty is a member of the domestic staff, she's really the boss of the domestic staff. She was in charge of hiring and firing staff, of managing household budgets, of serving as a housekeeper, a hostess, really the domestic manager of Wheatland. So she had an important role in making the household function and in being a hostess for President Buchanan. And she even went to the White House with him for a small period of time and served as kind of a substitute when his niece, Harriet Lane, was traveling. So she lived here at Wheatland, and unlike the other domestics in the house, she had her own room on the same floor as the rest of the family. And that's the room I'm standing in. Miss Hetty was a highly valued member of Buchanan's household, and we can tell that she had a really lovely room here at Wheatland, a comfortable place for her to rest, and it had its own coal fireplace. This is the only fireplace in the house that's painted wood instead of a marble material, but it's painted to look like marble, which is really kind of interesting. Now, Miss Hetty retired after Buchanan passed away. He left her over $5,000 that she was able to take with her to start her independent household. For locals in Lancaster, you'll recognize the name of the street that she moved to, which is West Orange Street. She moved to West Orange Street. She created had her own house built in 1871 and moved into her own household, where she spent the duration of her life. She did return to Wheatland once briefly because she was baptized in the Baptist faith, and she chose to get baptized by being dunked into the frog pond here at Wheatland by a Baptist minister. But for the most part, she remained at her home about 1.5 miles down the road in the city on West Orange Street. And that's where she passed away. She was in her mid-90s. She lived a very long life, especially for someone in the 19th century. And she passed away peacefully in her home. So that's the story of Miss Hetty. One thing that's interesting when we're thinking about Miss Hetty is that we don't have a lot of resources about her, and certainly not from her perspective. In fact, we don't even have a photograph that we know of Miss Hetty. So that's something to be thinking about when you consider, as the Hamilton musical says, who lives, who dies, who tells your story? Who's telling Miss Hetty's story, and how are we telling her story? We have very limited documentary evidence of her, but she was certainly an important member of the household. Thank you.